And we're streaming.
And we are live on this fantastic Thirsty Thursday, the Thursday after Valentine's Day. Welcome, everybody, to the Sammies and Beer podcast. We appreciate you all stopping by. My name is Matt, and with me, as always, is Thomas. Thomas, how is everything going?
I'm going great. It's going great. I'm going great.
How was your Valentine's Day?
Good. We're doing some extra stuff this weekend because, Tuesday, Valentine's Day, can't, do too much. What about you? How was your Valentine's Day?
It was good. Nothing too crazy, but, lots of fun.
Okay. She felt bad because, I got her stuff for Valentine's Day, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't get me anything. She was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, we've talked about this before, but growing up, my dad always got my mom something. He never got anything for Valentine's Day. So I'm going to change my lights. But yeah, so that's my expectation.
See, and that's... I guess I can't compare, growing up because I don't really remember. I don't know if my dad did stuff or not. I don't really remember.
Sure.
But my wife goes all out. And she doesn't do crazy stuff, but she always is super thoughtful. She got stuff for the kids. Her and her friends are doing a Galentine's. She went
Galentine's.
And they're doing it on Sunday. So this is the part that I'm somewhat okay with it with, is she went yesterday after Valentine's Day and went and bought them a bunch of the discounted Valentine's presents. And I'm like,
that's smart. Okay.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
But then, for me, she got me, it was nothing crazy, but, super thoughtful. She got me a bunch of shots, individual shot glasses to go...
The basket.
Yeah, in a basket, some candy that I like, an Amazon gift card, a sticker, really cool, just, nothing over-the-top crazy, but just super thoughtful stuff, because, she got me the shots to take with the podcast. So yeah, stuff that was
nice.
relevant.
That is nice to get. I get it. That actually makes sense. That does sound nice. I will say.
So she did fantastic.
Okie dokie. And then flowers, of course. You always get them flowers. You get them chocolate. I got her a bottle of wine that she really likes. It's hard to come by. What she thinks it's hard to come by, but it's on base all the time, constantly on base. So,
there you go.
I just haven't told her that. I'm just like,
I went to 4 liquor stores to find you this bottle of wine.
Yeah, right? Just I really bust my ass to find the last bottle. There's 15 of them bitches on base.
That's right.
That's
a great way to do it.
I'm going to hold on to that one for a while.
As you should.
But yeah, just favorite candy, stuff like that. And then dinner, of course. And then this weekend we're spending some time together like we always do. But...
yeah.
We were going to go to the drive-in, but it's supposed to be 30 degrees out at night. So, that's not happening.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah. Who went first last week, by the way?
I believe you did, so it is my week to go first.
Okay.
And I'm going to change it up a little bit, and I don't know if I'm going to stick with it, but I'm going to do 2 shots today. One is going to be a shot at... and one is going to be a shot for.
Okay.
So
I can do the same. I'm going to do the same. I already got one.
I was thinking about it, and I was like, we're talking about good and evil. Let's throw a little bit of evil. Let's throw some gasoline on the fire, and then let's dose it with a fire extinguisher.
Okay, I see you.
So, thank you for showing us those. We appreciate you. So I will let you decide which goes first. Good or bad?
The bad first.
Bad first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, my shot is brought to you by Dough Ball Whiskey. It is a cookie dough whiskey.
Ugh. It's clear.
No, I poured it into a shot.
I was
I don't like drinking out of those things.
Because you can't get it all down at once.
And it's got a bubble. And,
yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I didn't want to go through the embarrassment. Sometimes those things don't come off, and you got to use your teeth. What if I couldn't get it off? You know.
I get it.
So.
If you perhaps.
There was a lot of thought that went into taking this shot.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, my first shot at is every cash register that I go to and swipe my card at random places that has the tip option. I fucking hate that because it really puts you in an awkward spot, especially when the cashier's standing there. Like, I go to get donuts, and all they had to do was take donuts out, put them in a box, and hand them to me.
Well, I mean, they made the donuts.
Did they?
Depends on what. Did you go to like an Asian or like Asian ran donut shop, or did you go to like a Krispy Kreme?
It wasn't. I mean, it was kind of in between that. Like, it's a local chain, but they have, people that work there. They're, hourly employees. There's not a bakery there.
Oh.
I'll say that much.
Well, then yeah, then fuck them.
Or on the other side, there's ice cream. Somebody scoops your ice cream, and it's like a $6 cone of ice cream, and then they've got a tip thing up, and I'm like,
I mean, well, marble slab because they're like doing stuff with the ice cream,
They're not. This is just scooping it into a cup or a cone.
Oh yeah, like Baskin Robbins.
Yeah, like, I mean, you go into every place you go to now seems to have a tip option. And then you got to look like a schmuck, which either I have to give you a tip, even though I'm paying full price for your services and you were just doing your job, which you should be getting paid for. And I either have to give you a tip or I look like an ass and don't give you a tip. So I don't like the tip option on things. If I want to tip somebody, I should be able to just give them cash, call it a deal. Fuck off tip machines.
Fuck off tips. I mean, people should get paid enough so that they don't need tips also. We won't get into that.
Well, that's another big part of it. Like, if I'm paying you for your service, you should take care of your employees and not put it back on me for them to rely on me to tip them.
Yep.
So, all right. There is shot number 1. Shot number 2 is going to be bourbon cream.
Oh, that sounds tasty.
It's not a bad
I hope
one.
you can't open it. Ah, damn it.
I got it open already.
Fuck.
And the cookie dough, by the way, not a bad.
Really?
It really wasn't as bad as I was expecting. Maybe I got burnt out because I was doing a lot of those 99 berries and bananas and watermelon, and those things
rough.
are nasty.
Those things are rough. I gotta remember to bring you the pecan and praline whiskey we have down here. It's a local one. Oh, great. Not too sweet, great dessert whiskey. You'll sip it after a meal and you're like, this is better than fucking ice cream. I gotta remember to get that.
All right. Lo siento, everybody, for seeing my computer stuff popping up. And for those of you who don't speak Spanish, that is the siento
He's actually just saying big wiener.
in Spanish.
Yes, in Spanish.
My second shot is going to go out to my wife. Obviously, she gave me an amazing Valentine's Day present. I couldn't not tell her how much I adore her and absolutely love her. So, cheers to you, honey.
I think she's gotten the most cheers on this podcast.
She's one of our biggest supporters.
She's our only supporter, yeah.
Daniel.
Oh, Daniel. And Gabe, too. Gabe does.
All right.
Oh, I went classy today.
Ooh, Svedka vodka.
Yeah.
That's not even your Tito's.
No. It was on sale on base for the big bottle for $10.
Nice. I do have to give a quick shout out. We have the Big C Panda in our chat on Twitch, who is a good friend of mine. He is Mike Miller. And Mike, you'll have to let me know the name of your podcast so we can tell people to go listen to it.
He's not Mormon, right?
I don't know. You could. Does that matter? Should you stop saying things if he is?
No. I'll say it more, actually. Which is funny because I just watched the South Park episode about Mormons.
Nice.
It was fucking hilarious. Okay, so would you like the good or the bad first?
Let's go with the bad first, end on a high note.
Let's go with whoever invented Valentine's Day, go fuck yourself. Right after the holidays, I gotta spend more money on like a date and gifts, and her birthday's right before the holidays. There's not a month where I don't have to spend money on something romantic from like her birthday until here. And I hate Valentine's Day. I think it's dumb. If you want to, if you want to be sweet to your significant other, then just be sweet to them. Normally. And we could say that your wife does that. I've seen her do that with gifts and stuff. Just
Don't wait for a special day for it.
exactly, just do it.
Yeah.
Remember that one time you found the bucket of Fireball? It was awesome.
Yeah.
So, fuck you, Valentine's Day. I'll still do it because that's the right thing to do.
The funny part about that was it was a heart-shaped thing of Fireball. So it was a Valentine's present that I didn't get last year.
You just hit it on. I like it.
Mike wanted to point out that have you ever met a Korean Mormon? No. Mike is Korean.
Oh. Annyeonghaseyo, Mike. Annyeonghaseyo. I lived in Korea for a few years growing up. I have my own opinions. I love you, and I hate you. It's weird. Best food I've ever eaten, though. 100%. And so, my shot for today, right? All the controversy surrounding it, everything that's going on recently, this one was to J.K. Rowling. I love you. I've loved you growing up, you know? You gave me some of the best stories I've ever read, and then now I just got one of the best games I've ever played. They've been fucking grinding on it, as you've seen. So I know there's a bunch of controversy surrounding her. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Here's to you, JK. Thanks for giving me some of the best shit of my life.
It is really interesting how much shit she's taking. But then how, like, people are so just taking the easy street on it. Like, just don't buy this game. I might have sent you. There was a great TikTok where the person was like, you really want to give it to her? Don't go to Disneyland and support her at Universal Studios. Or, you know, quit buying all the Harry Potter Legos.
Yeah, or the movies. Stop watching the movies, you know?
Yeah, because they said that the video game, she might not even have anything to do with it. I think she's hardly any profit from it. Yeah. But she makes a ton of money off Legos.
But she made a good world, right? Like, it's good. I like it.
Yeah.
Millions of people like it. I'm sure if Hitler wrote it and I read it and then he became Hitler, I'd probably still read it because it's fucking good.
Well, let's not compare J.K. Rowling and Hitler.
Well, that's the thing. Apparently the goblins in the story are Jews.
Oh.
That's like, it's anti-Semitic, apparently. And I'm like, they're just goblins. That's what goblins look like. That's what they've always looked like. You know.
Well, they're imaginary, so they can look like whatever the fuck she wants them to.
Exactly. So they're short with big noses. I'm like, okay. Did you ever watch Shrek?
Yeah.
Do you remember the ugly stepsister? She looks like a dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bartender.
Huh?
So in Hogwarts Legacy, there's a like ambiguous, definitely a female, right, because of tits, but has like a dude's voice, and that's the first thing that came to my head when I saw them and they talked. I was just like, oh my god, it was super cool. Hey, how can I help you? I'm like, it was super neat. It's a great game. It's a great game. But we'll get into that. We'll start talking more about things growing up, specifically because we have such a varying age range between the two of us. And so things that affected you growing up, I don't even know what they are. So, you know.
Yeah.
Excited to talk about what I assume is going to be the Terminator, War Games, the A-Team, you know, all those old man shit that you watched.
Some of that stuff's a little, like, too old for me. I mean, I've seen some of it. Like, I never watched the A-Team.
Okay.
That was definitely ahead of my time.
With Murdoch and, okay, Mr. T, I gotcha.
Mike, age range, I am in my late 30s and Thomas is in his late 20s.
Yes, it's about a decade between the two of us, I think, now.
Yep. So, yeah, about 10 years between us.
Which is weird. It's wild, the differences that come up.
Oh, well, I mean, if you talk to somebody that was born 10 years before me, like, I was born in the early 80s. You talk to somebody that was born in the early 70s.
My parents.
Like, we would have had similar upbringing.
That's true.
Versus 10 years later, there was that huge boom in technology where things changed so bad.
They did. I remember growing up both with a, like, corded phone and a cordless one. Like, we had both. You know,
Yeah.
I was in that transition, but I grew up in the transitionary period for a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but we're talking about things that impacted us, and believe it or not, my childhood was impacted a lot by '80s culture because of my father. That was how
Of course.
we spent time together. We would watch the A Team, or Top Gun, or my favorite '80s movie, Iron Eagle.
Fair enough.
It's so bad, but I love it.
That's, I've thought about this a lot, and the reason that I think 80s movies were so goddamn amazing? Because it was in the time range before you could get on the internet and like fact check all this stuff. So everything that was going on was possible. Was it believable? Maybe not. But it was possible. There could have been a bouncer that drove around between bars
Roadhouse.
from city to city and was a cooler and taught all these bars how to do this shit. There was this truck driver that could have drove around practicing arm wrestling and then gone to the championships. Over the top.
Yeah.
All of these things were possible if you thought long and hard about it. Were they probable? Probably not.
It was able to be justified in your own head when you didn't have fact checking.
Exactly.
But you still, and I okay. Let's talk about a sore subject. I still have not seen the Slam and Salmon. Right, it's that big sore subject between Matt and I. But Matt also hasn't seen The Last Dragon, so. And for those of you that could quote The Last Dragon or like know what that is, kudos to you.
It's gonna be very few people.
Super racist. Just very racist.
There was a lot of movies back then that were quite racist.
It's about a young black fighter named Bruce Leroy. And he idolized Bruce Lee, and then he ends up glowing. It's weird. I love it.
Yeah.
But I digress. I know a lot about 80s culture, but the things that impacted me the most as a kid didn't come from 80s culture. Like I watched it and I was like, yeah, this is cool, Top Gun, woo! But Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, more things of my time are what impacted me as a little kid.
Yeah, they were culturally relevant. It wasn't just something that you spoke about with your parents. It was something that everybody was going through. Everybody was talking about.
Exactly. I couldn't really have a conversation with kids at school about Iron Eagle,
No, not many people were probably watching that.
No. Actually, you'd be surprised on Air Force Base. It was a Top Gun. We could always talk about Top Gun.
Fair enough.
But, it's just... So, Percy Jackson actually came out... I think he was 12 when the first book came out, right? And every year another book came out, and he aged a year. And I was 12 when the first book came out. And so I had the beautiful opportunity of being able to read the books as he grew up, and I grew up with him. And the same for How to Train Your Dragon. He was a teenager in the first one, right? Like a young teen, which is when it came out for me. And then I was able to kind of grow up with Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon, including the third one, where he's like a grown adult. He's a man, So those kind of interactions are really cool because you go through the same kind of issues. Loved it. Love it.
Nice.
I just don't have a dragon. I have a dog who's passed the fuck out, but,
Yeah. So, when you were watching a lot of this stuff, were you like, did you go rent movies? Did you have streaming?
So, most of the things that impacted me as a kid weren't watched, they were read.
Okay.
And did I tell you why I started reading as a kid? Oh, okay. So, as a kid growing up, I was bad at school. I wasn't bad at school. I passed all my tests, but I never did my homework, right? Laziness, whatever, as you can tell. So I was always doing really poor in school because I just wasn't doing assignments, and that makes up a bulk of the grade. So at one point, I forgot what I did. I did something pretty bad, and my dad was deployed. My mom grounded me for 365 consecutive days. She said, for 1 year, you're grounded. You can't do anything besides read.
Ooh.
And she stuck to it, and I did.
What did you do that was so bad to get grounded for 365?
I think it was a compounding thing, like bad grades, misbehaving in school because I talked a lot, you're right, and I was mischievous.
mischievous. That's such a vague way of saying what you did, because there's things that you did.
I don't remember. I'll ask her. I'll bring it up next time. I'll ask her, but I don't remember. I remember getting grounded, and so she said all I could do was read, right? And so I was like, fuck, like, you know, as any, I would think I was maybe 8 or 9. I was distraught, and like a few weeks I didn't do anything. I just sat in bed, whatever. Then I started reading. I was like, well, this is the only thing I can do. Then I didn't stop reading. 2 years later, my mom would get phone calls that I was reading underneath the desk at school while the teacher was teaching.
Backfired on her, didn't it?
It really did. So ever since my mom did that for me, you know, I've loved reading, and that's where the bulk of a lot of my childhood came from, because I was grounded a lot growing up. I would make stupid decisions, or like it snowed and I'd go into a drain pipe with a fucking snowboard and try to do stuff and hurt myself, and then I get grounded, or just stupid stuff, you know, kid stuff. So I was always grounded, so I was always reading.
Fair enough. Did you ever, like, I know you do a lot of reading, but do you ever read, like, books for knowledge, or is it 100% fiction?
Oh, it's entertainment, always. And I've read some nonfiction books that are really good, like The Last Survivor, right? The Chris Kyle story. Really good read, really good book, nonfiction, but I read for entertainment. I don't read to gain knowledge. It's kind of boring. So I like stories, specifically, like I read The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings.
The only reason I bring it up is people who read always try to make themselves feel superior. Well, I read a lot. Oh, I'm hoity-toity. I read a lot.
Fuck that.
Oh, you watched the movie? Oh, you should have read the book. It was so much better.
It was. I will say it always is better, but that's because
that's just you trying to tell me that you're better than me because you read the fucking
It's
book.
not. A good example is that video games are always better than the movies too. Right? Because they push, like, a book can have hundreds of hours worth of content in it. A game also can have a lot of content in it. A movie only has 2 hours of content. They can only do so much, you know.
I don't know. Have you seen what they do with TV shows now?
Well, TV shows are different. I said movies. The Last of Us TV show is killing it. I gotta say.
I was gonna say The Last of Us is demolishing it. Like that could be one of the scariest, like, zombie shows that I've watched, just by the sheer reality of it.
Yeah, it's how likely it is.
Yeah, like, and I loved how they threw in there, well, the climate started slowly rising on the Earth, and the plant had to change. Oh, fuck, that's real. Yeah. Let's go.
Cordyceps are only 3 evolutionary steps away from doing exactly what The Last of Us said they did.
Fuck yeah.
Which, I mean, the common cold is only 2 from killing us all, so, but regardless, it's still, you know, relevant. And it's terrifying because it's real.
Exactly.
And then you'll see as this, because I played the game, of course, you know, big nerd, love games. As the story progresses, it gets literally even better. The Last of Us.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm digging the show so
it's
far.
It's so good. And then, like, the 3rd episode, it's controversial, right? Like, it's a controversial episode because of all the gay stuff that happened. Because, like, well, let me explain. In the game, it was, like, alluded to that they were gay, right? But it wasn't really confirmed. It was, like, kind of up in the air. Which
that's because kids play the game.
It's rated M, so, or T.
So
wow, okay.
So when does that stop kids?
That's fair. Playing GTA San Andreas at 8 years old, I get it.
Yeah.
I was picking up prostitutes. But they always
picking up prostitutes, making the car rock, and then kicking them out and beating them and taking your money back.
Oh yeah. It was kept ambiguous though in the game, right? Because they weren't. It came out a while ago. They weren't sure how it would be received, and now people are a lot more comfortable with it. And I gotta say, that episode was great. You know, I think they did it really well. They didn't treat it like this big old woke gay people are awesome thing. They just treated it like a love story that it was. It was awesome. Yeah. It was perfect. Loved it.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. It was weird. I will say it was weird seeing Nick Offerman play a gay character.
Yeah. Seeing Ron Swanson get a blowjob.
Yeah, that's weird. That was the weird part. Ron Swanson. The fact that Ron Swanson. Tofu bacon. Can I have another?
Yes, it was weird. But the character did fit what we saw Ron Swanson as, too, with the whole homesteading and...
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, setting all that stuff up with the gates and...
He just happened to like Wiener.
I still don't understand the whole boat aspect of it. Why he went and grabbed a boat.
To transfer everything over. It was like a trailer.
There was no trailers?
But maybe not. I didn't see it.
Was...
Rewatch the episode, try to find a trailer. Go ahead.
But they showed you what they wanted to show you. There was a trailer in the fucking town somewhere.
Nope. Guess not.
Yeah.
Because he got the boat.
Yeah.
Ingenuity. But it was
do you know how much of a pain in the ass it would have been to lift those fucking giant drums of gas into the back of a boat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what if he just put the empty drums in the boat and then filled them up there?
And how did he get them out?
Just...
That's a good thing to do. Just hurl full...
It's not going to explode.
I don't even know if you could pick those things up.
No, it's too much liquid. Way too much liquid.
I don't even think you could tip it over.
You could tip it over. Because it's the shape of it. Physics. You put a wooden peg here so it doesn't slide and you can get over it.
So, yes, that is a fantastic TV show. If you haven't watched it, highly recommend it.
It's so good. It's doing
The latest episode was really good, too.
I actually haven't watched since the 3rd episode.
Well, you should get on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know how it ends, so...
Thank you for following Rapscallion84.
Thanks. But my big question for you is, what is the one piece of media that you absorbed as a kid or as a teenager that really affected you the most?
As a teenager?
It could be either or, just something you still think about to this day, something that really affected you as a person.
I guess, what do you mean by that?
It was just like show or movie or something that really just spoke to you growing up.
I don't know if I can have one that really, spoke to me. I mean, I could tell you what my favorites are, but, but there wasn't one that was like, oh my God, this is my mantra or anything like that, or, this is the path you need to go on.
This is the way?
This is the way.
Okay. Which is fine. Some people are different.
Yeah. Yeah, so, obviously watching movies and TV and stuff like that for me we were watching cable, so what was on was what you watched, you had 60 channels and what was on was what you got to watch. I was probably about your age when I learned that in Roadhouse that the one guy makes obscenely horrific comments to him about what he did to dudes in prison, and I had always watched that show or that movie on TBS growing up.
Oh, so you couldn't... They cut that part out.
They cut that part out. And I saw it on Netflix at one point, and I'm like, oh, sweet, I'm going to watch Roadhouse. I think it was during... Yeah, I don't remember when it was. It was 10 years ago. And I started watching it, and he looks at him, and he's like, I used to fuck dudes like you in prison. And I'm like, what?
When did that happen?
What movie am I watching?
70s music starts coming in.
And so there was a lot of that I learned later on with, some of those movies that you used to watch that were like rated R movies that they somehow cut down to make it onto
Bad Boys 2 is a great example of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The TV Bad Boys 2 and the actual movie, which, by the way, my parents took me to when I was a kid, to the theaters. It was awesome. It was our favorite fucking movie.
Nice. Well, any co-host or friend of Mike's is always welcome. We appreciate you stopping by.
Oh, so they're okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, and we will gladly give any advice, but we only get 4 viewers. Just an FYI. If you're trying to build an empire, this isn't it. This is not the show. let's see. So nothing really impacted you as a kid growing up. And that could have just been the way media was made back then, too, you know?
Well, and like I said, I was never a huge reader. I loved watching movies. Like, I would watch the same movie or same TV show on repeat. But I never got into reading. Like, the only time that I've consistently read in my entire life was before my wife and I were getting married, I took a job at a gas station.
Yes, I remember.
And I worked like 6 to 10 every night. I had a full-time job. I was an electrician at the time. I worked full-time during the day, and I would show up there and I would close the gas station. And essentially what I would do is, it was just a little cubicle. They didn't have snacks. They didn't have anything. All I had to do was authorize people's gas and give them a gas discount. So I'd sit in there and read. And I read, I think I worked there 6-9 months, something like that. And I read like 25 books. That is the most books I've ever read in my entire life.
That's it.
That was it. And that was strictly because I was forced to.
You didn't have any other option. But you can understand why reading can be entertaining.
I get it. Yeah, like, I mean, it was something to do. But I just prefer other forms of entertainment.
Which is fair.
You know?
I remember being a kid reading Harry Potter underneath my blanket with a flashlight.
Yeah, I was never that big of a nerd.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, you know?
I guess that's fair. I don't know. You say 26 books. I know me and your wife are just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not in a mean way, but it's just like...
And that's fine. Like, I could also talk to you about a ton of movies or TV shows that you probably will never see in your lifetime.
Like the Slam and Salmon, yeah.
Yeah. That's probably the funniest movie you'll ever watch, too.
I do need to watch it. So, actually, I'm thinking about watching it Saturday. I'm thinking about making Holly watch it with me.
Neither of you will be disappointed.
Okay. Saturday. Just text me to remind me.
You've said this before.
You have to remind me. I forget.
I have to remind you?
Yes.
Well, if only there was like something in your pocket right now that you could reach out and be like, "Hey Siri, remind me to watch the Slam and Salmon." Oh, and by the way, I'm drinking tonight.
Oh, thank you. So for those that don't know, I'm trying to hamper back on my consumption, and I want Matt to text me if he's drinking that night or not, because we play games every night. Well, when we can, right? Depending, and sometimes it's only for like 30 minutes. We'll do like a round of Warzone before bed. But if he's drinking, then I want to be there, at the same level. And if he's not, then I'm just not gonna. So
I set par.
He does. Because I'll go over.
Whether you shoot over or under is up to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to shoot under now. But no, that's.
I will say, one of the trilogies that came out that I distinctly remember was The Matrix, and I will say that at least got you really thinking about a lot of different things.
Whether or not we're in a simulation.
Oh, 100% whether we're in a simulation.
We are, by the way. Spoiler alert, everyone. We're in a simulation.
We're in a simulation.
Just so you know.
You're not making your own decisions. There's a black cat doing it.
But I get that. The Matrix was good.
Oh, it was so good.
I liked The Matrix. Growing up, I liked The Matrix. I even played the game, the MMO.
I didn't know there was a game.
It was an MMO. It got shut down. It was this big event for it, but it was decent. I mean, as all MMOs back then were, like EverQuest, RuneScape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the big trilogy I remember. I mean, obviously Star Wars came out when I was finishing up high school, so I was in my later teens. It was, I think, when
episode 1 through 3.
Episode 1 came out. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Avril Lavigne wasn't a clone yet. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that's a great conspiracy theory. I still, I never understood the hate for Jar Jar Binks.
He was annoying, right? He was. He wasn't that bad. Uh-oh.
The theory that John Connor is actually Neo, I think that's a great theory.
I don't think I heard that before.
John Connor from the Terminator?
Yeah.
he goes in. That's a solid theory. Like, I like the connection of those two franchises too.
I can fuck with that theory.
You know, one is what happens if he doesn't win. One is what happens if he does.
Huh. That's kind of cool. Fuck.
You know?
Or so I know you're not a huge fan of scary movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge theory out right now. You have The Exorcist, which great horror movie. You know, fucking phenomenal horror movie when it came out. And then you have this newer series called Ouija, which is based off the Ouija board and all that stuff. And so the guy who made Ouija tied it into The Exorcist. Like, he did certain things at the beginning, middle, and end, and Easter eggs all throughout it that actually ties it in to The Exorcist.
So did he just write fan theory, and then it just got so popular that he made it into a movie or a show?
Maybe. But
And isn't that...
It's kind of what he did. That's how fucking 50 Shades of Grey came out. It was a fan fiction for Twilight.
Oh, I 100% believe it.
Did you hear that?
Like, how much...
That connecting chain between 9/11 and Twilight? Or 50 Shades of Grey?
Like, 9/11 as in, like...
Yeah.
The connection between them?
Yep, the connection between 9/11 and 50 Shades of Grey. It
Please
connects.
enlighten me.
9/11 happens, right? And a young boy in the Midwest is so distraught, he takes these feelings and he starts writing music, right? He forms a band. And this band is called My Chemical Romance. Now, My Chemical Romance comes out with a certain amount of songs, certain songs during that album that was caused by 9/11, right? Which was the Black Parade, I believe. And it inspires a young writer to write Twilight. This writer writes Twilight, comes out, whatever, and then that novel inspires someone to write a fan fiction about it that's super sexual, and that's 50 Shades of Grey. And that is the connecting dots for 9/11 caused 50 Shades of Grey.
I see what you're... I see where you went with it. It's kind of like you butterfly affected it.
They did.
Is what you're saying.
If 9/11 didn't happen, we wouldn't have 50 Shades of Grey.
If 9/11 didn't happen, we would still have Chris Kyle.
Yeah,
I mean...
that's true. I'm just saying, it's a funny little...
It's interesting if you think about the chain of events that make things happen.
Yes.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Getting a little off topic, but that's fine.
You know, I can't say that it's underappreciated, but it's never overly talked about. One of my favorite movies from my childhood was always Tremors.
Like the Worm movie with Reba?
Oh, yeah. It was so fucking good.
It was pretty good. Fucking Reba in her basement full of guns.
Evan Bacon?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I fucking
was a good one.
I loved that.
I just hated where they went with it.
Yeah, they did get really weird with it.
They start to fly and...
Yeah. Well, and you know, I will say it kind of attributes to like what I think the big draw in with like the Stranger Things, like the first season of that is there was so much, they did so much building up to it. Like that's what I loved about the first season of Stranger Things was like they alluded to everything and they didn't show you things. They did so much build up, and they did a lot of building up in Tremors too. You know, with how the monsters were going to look and things like that, and them just eating things, and you know, and then they, like you said, they just absolutely ruined it because then they had like the little stupid things with two legs running around, and
that always happens to most franchises. If you go past what you planned for it, it's pretty much going to suck. They stopped it with iRobot. iRobot, great movie. They did it. They finished it. They never did a sequel. Thank you. Love that. Sometimes you got to let something die.
Yeah. I am watching, I know it's been out for a while, but Willow. Did you ever watch the original Willow?
I don't think I even know what that is.
No? Mm-mm. So Willow, this is a fun fact for you. Willow was the big follow-up to Star Wars from Steven Spielberg. It was supposed to be his next huge project. And it's a movie.
It didn't work out.
The professor from the little person professor from Harry Potter was in it as the main character, and he was Willow. And it was I really enjoyed the movie growing up. Val Kilmer was in it as Mad Mardigan.
It's a fantasy, right?
Yeah, it's a fantasy about like this wizard, and they've got these little brownies, which are like tiny people. They've got villages of all the little people are called Pecks.
It's ringing bells. They did do something recently with it, right?
Yeah, they like kind of did a spin-off of the show like 20 years in the future when the baby from the show is like a teenager. Well, she's late teens. And I've been watching that recently. It's decent.
I don't know. I don't appreciate all the spin-offs.
I don't mind them just because it kind of brings you back. Especially, I like it when they give it a ton of time. Like, I don't like when things are rushed.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a lot of shows that you can feel get rushed.
Well, the new Lord of the Rings is really good.
Yeah,
I know that's
but there's been plenty of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why that's controversial. It's fucking awesome.
I think it's pretty good. That 90s show, it wasn't... I watched it. It's okay. The first episode's like really good because it's all the throwbacks. Then it's just like, eh. Girl Meets World wasn't, I think I was too old to watch that.
How I Met Your Father.
Yes.
I haven't watched that. See, I don't watch a lot of these. I don't get into some of this nostalgia stuff.
Fucking iCarly.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. You're old. There's a lot of... I don't know how I feel. I typically don't like the spin-offs. I'm very much a believer of letting things just die.
Well,
except for Top Gun. That was fucking awesome.
They did it, 30 years in the future?
Yeah. But he put the time... Tom Cruise put the time and effort into that fucking movie.
Oh, yeah. It was a great movie.
It was a
great
movie.
sequel.
Yeah. Which is rare now. Very rare.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of trilogies. I kind of came to realize that Keanu Reeves, all he really does is trilogies.
He has a very niche acting role for the most part. He is what they call like a blank face character, and he purposefully doesn't make facial expressions or does certain things so that the viewer can kind of put themselves in his shoes easier. And so it's like an escape fantasy, like that they're John Wick or that they're Neo. They're the chosen one. It's like this huge thing about it. It's really interesting. It's an interesting read. But it's, it's cool. And I think it's true.
Well, what about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
That's different. That's just fucking hilarious.
But he's gotten to a trilogy with it.
Yeah, that's true. And there's some movies where he's played himself. I think that's hilarious. But he is my favorite character from one of my favorite movies, which was Constantine.
That was a really good.
I read the comic books growing up. I watched the TV show, which wasn't as good. And apparently he's trying to get a sequel going. And that is a sequel I'll support. I would love to see more Constantine. Fucking love that movie.
Yeah, that was a really well done, too. One of my top favorite movies when I was a kid, probably still to this day, was Tombstone. I absolutely loved. That was by far my favorite Western. Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday. Kurt Russell as Wyatt Earp. I mean, I don't think they could have cast that crew any better.
Probably not.
Sam Elliott as his brother.
Elliott's just always a win, though.
Sam Elliott's a win. Kurt Russell did a phenomenal job. So did Doc Holliday. I mean, that was such a... if you want to talk about a movie that impacted me, that was kind of like the family, brotherhood, that's what's important. And fuck those Cowboys.
I'm trying to think of anything else. Obviously, Steve Irwin impacted me a lot as a kid. Rest in peace, Steve. I don't know. There's so much. I grew up in such a big time for media, though.
Well, that's the thing is there's so much that you can consume out there now. If I wanted a book, we had to go to the fucking library. We couldn't just pull it up on our phone.
Well, I couldn't either. I had to read from the library.
Well, and I will say I do make my kids actually read paperbacks now.
It's good.
And I don't want them on a tablet because Not because I don't want them reading off of a tablet, because I'm pretty sure they would just close it when I'm not looking and start playing games.
Oh yeah, I would have done the same thing as a kid though. Like,
Yeah.
so.
Quick side story. You want to hear how my youngest super pissed off my wife today?
I would love to.
He was taking a shower, and we've got one of those detachable shower heads. He made it rain all over the bathroom. All over the bathroom. Like, ruined a bunch of her makeup and stuff. And it's just one of those funny kid things. Something stupid that he did.
I don't think she thinks it's very funny right now.
She doesn't. Like, but I thought it was funny.
I think it's funny too. Yeah. You know what impacted me a lot as a kid that probably didn't for you? Video game characters.
Yeah?
Because you didn't really have very well story written characters. I grew up with Master Chief, stuff like that. That made a big impact now that I think about it. A lot of video games growing up. Geralt of Rivia, Isaac from Dead Space. There was a lot, And now it's different too because you could physically control these characters.
See, I've never gotten that into being somebody else like that. Controlling another character?
Really?
Like, I'm not a huge role-playing game type person.
You say as you play D&D every week.
That's different, though, because that's a character that I'm creating and doing whatever I want with them.
Yeah. Skyrim?
In a role-playing...
Fallout?
Those haven't been around that long.
I guess that's fair. Well, they have, but just not in the way that you know them now.
Yeah, not where you could, like, they were like, all right, go here, do this.
Yeah,
go here, do
the
this.
top.
Go here, do this. Go here, do this. Like, there was a story, but it wasn't, I don't know. I've never looked at them in that story-wise